Hello and welcome to Off With Their Headlines. I'm your co-host, Amanda Matta, joined by the fresh to death, Meredith Constant. She is looking ready for summer.
I went to bed at 9:30 last night. I woke up at 5:15. I had a leftover frittata.
A frittata?
I am wearing my very
You're ready for the
Riviera dress. Okay. I am ready. I am the Energizer Bunny. This will fall apart in about 2 hours, but for now,
we're
ready to
taking
go.
full advantage of it.
And if you want to see this dress,
just kidding. No, if you want to see the dress, go to our YouTube. You can get the video episodes 1 week later, or if you would like them right away, if you need to see Meredith's Riviera dress immediately, check out our Patreon. It is patreon.com/offwiththeirheadlines. I also want to note for the record, we are recording on a Wednesday because we finally learned our lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to record after Meghan Markle dropped something. We're finally learning our lesson. This is real growth, and we're going to get into it today.
I'm very excited. I'm proud of us. Look at her growth. Look at her growth.
But Meredith, I believe first you have a Burying the Lead for us that I am intrigued.
But before that, I am going to do one more plug because we were on a Wondery Media show. It's wondrous.
We sure were.
That we were on a Wondery Media show. We were on Even the Royals, which you could have listened to about 3 weeks ago on Wondery Plus. But if you do not have that, you can listen to it for free now. It dropped on Monday. We spoke with Brooke and Risha all about spares, and it was a weird convo, but it was fun.
All about spares and Meredith being tragically overdressed for dim sum in LA.
And I made a measles joke that I forgot about.
Yes.
Because that's what happens when you record something 6 weeks ago.
Early in the recording, you dropped that bomb.
Wow, I really did. I forgot about that. It's a really, really fun episode. We had such a good time. Thank you to Brooke, Risha, their whole very professional team.
Yes,
that was fun.
Absolutely.
And Wondery Media, definitely go give it a listen. Leave them a little review. We'd love to go back on. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
Drop that.
We enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. We shared nuggets of wisdom and maybe some spicier takes, but you'll have to listen.
And some good measles jokes.
Sure.
As good as measles jokes can be. Anyway, let's move on to this Burying the Lead. This one I found in my Google alerts for Princess Anne, as one is wont to do. You got to have one on for good old Anne.
I should set those up. That sounds like a good time.
I don't look at them all the time because the news sources are always very strange, and my poor man Eddie always gets shafted. It's usually Prince Edward Island that gets picked up and not actual Prince Edward.
Which Google alerts do you have? I have to know.
I have Prince Anne, Princess Edward, Camilla Parker Bowles, Meghan Markle.
Prince Anne, Princess Edward.
Wait, you know what I mean. Whatever. Prince William. I think I have Kate Middleton.
I have an update if you have Meghan Markle in there. That's crazy.
I don't know why I have Meghan. I haven't updated them. I need to update them. I have Prince Harry.
No, I'm just saying constant nonsense will happen if you put Meghan Markle into your Google alerts.
I know. I haven't updated them in 2 years, so I mostly delete them. It's become background noise. So I need to go in and update.
Do you know I don't have Google alerts for the royals? I just have it for myself and for the bookstore that I do social media for. Those are my main priorities.
That's smart. I have it on for myself, and anytime it comes up,
I should probably set them up though. I don't know.
I go, oh my God. It's not very good, I have to be honest. You don't get a lot of good things, but once in a while, I
setting
open them
up for yourself
and I get
fun.
gems.
Yeah, that's how I found out that the Daily Express had written an article about Shane and I making a video recreating a sandwich recipe that Charles allegedly has his personal chefs make him for lunch. It was not a well-viewed video. I think it had less than 50K. Which for a page with 1 million followers, I'm sorry if that sounds so conceited. But in terms of my numbers, videos that normally get picked up by the media, it was a really weird one. And I was really grateful that I had the Google alert set up on that day.
That's how I found out the Daily Mail wrote about my grandpa dying.
Yeah.
And that was a weird one to explain to my family. But as I told them, hey, it was cheaper than putting the obit in the Cape Cod Times, so winning. And I feel like my grandfather would have gotten a kick out of that. So,
can you remind me, if it's not too traumatic, what was the crux of that article? Like, why did they do that? It's deeply weird, but why did they do it?
It's deeply weird. So what ended up happening was I was cited in the notes section of Omen Scobie's book Endgame. And I
Oh,
went,
right.
and this was 2.5 weeks after my grandfather died or something. And uh, I was in the room when my grandfather died. It was a lot. So I see my name. I am obviously full of a lot of emotions. Okay, I'm in a glass case of emotion. And I get on my TikTok and I am like, I need to show you guys something. I open up the page and I am crying. I'm like, I cannot believe that this is happening. Like, I'm full of a lot of different emotions because I'm so excited, but I wish I could share it with my grandfather, all these things. Yeah. And the Daily Mail saw the video and they wrote a whole article on the book that TikTok wrote or something like that. And they called me a young American internet sleuth, which
yes.
Thank
I remember
you.
that.
And they basically wrote out what I said in the video and brought up the fact that my grandfather had just died.
Did they
which
contact
is a
you
very
to ask
personal
to use
detail?
Because sometimes they will try to just use the video, but I always say no.
I don't know if they contacted me or not. They definitely didn't use the video, so they didn't just take my video, but
right.
They
got around it by just
a lot
transcribing it.
And wow, what a personal detail to share. So
deeply
thanks for
weird.
that. Yeah,
thanks,
deeply
Google
weird.
Alerts.
So
for
anyway,
us.
Getting back to Google Alerts, this I decided to open just to see what was going on with Anne. And this is related to all of the events of this past weekend. Here is the headline from Hello. Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
No.
Wow. Harsh. Princess Anne pushes boundaries, that's in quotations, with metallic lipstick to support Prince William. Just let that settle in the lines.
Do you know what I think of when I hear that?
What? I
think of something like Prince William developed a metallic lipstick to support the Duchy of Cornwall or something. That's what I'm thinking is going on here.
Would be
Princess
so
Anne
hot
wore it
to support him.
Yeah.
One would think.
Is it better?
Let's get into it. First of all, why are you doing my girl dirty? Because the picture that they chose, she looks wonderful. She's happy. She's full of life. She's got some lipstick on her teeth, though, which is going to happen. Applying a bold lipstick color at a certain age is very difficult to do, especially if you're not careful with that lip liner, and you got to be careful. Okay, you got to blot. It's hard enough to do when you are younger and you don't have as many lines around your lips. It's hard enough, and you got to have a full moisturizing program with your lips. You got to be doing a mask the night before. I don't know if they were doing a mask on Anne's lips the night before. Okay,
she's so no nonsense. She slapped that on 5 minutes before she went out the door, I'm sure.
Just give me that one. Oh, Blake, get away. I don't need lip liner. Anyway, so we go in. It starts with the royals didn't take off Monday to rest. They go to Windsor for the Order of the Garter. So while all eyes were drawn to Sophie and Kate, Hello's eyes were drawn to Princess Anne. The king's sister walked alongside her nephew, supporting Prince William on the momentous day. The Princess Royal pulled out all the stops, adding smart pearl earrings to her look, as well as perfectly applied lipstick in a bold metallic hue. Stop it right now. What are you doing to this poor frickin' woman? How is a smart earring and a bold metallic hue supporting Prince William? And it's not perfectly applied. We can tell from the photos. Why are you doing this to Anne? And this is no shade to Anne, but why are you writing this article? And I have more.
This is also one of the occasions where I can't stress this enough. They all have to be there. If they're in the Order of the Garter, you have to be there. So why is it Princess Anne supporting Prince William? I'm so confused.
And how is the lipstick in particular supporting him? Well, there's more. And we have an expert. Speaking on the royals' makeup choice, we have Hello's acting head of beauty. She said, quote, reimagining classic lipstick colors, such as red or pink, as sparkling focal points is great for special occasions, and a metallic mouth, not to be confused with more sedate shimmer, adds a modern luster. Leave it to Anne to push beauty boundaries in the chicest of ways. What in the ever-loving F are you talking about? When has Anne push the boundaries ever. And since when is having a bold choice when you are not the focal point ever good for these people when they are not the center of attention? And how does it support Prince William? What is this article?
It adds a modern luster. And obviously, Prince William is a lustrous, modern global statesman. No? No?
But what? Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the headline. Princess Anne pushes boundaries with metallic lipstick to support Prince William. Okay. They all have to be there.
Yeah.
How is this supporting Prince William?
Why does he need support? Kate is there.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I've noticed over the past couple of weeks, we've had a lot of this support. I've seen even Princess Sophie, or not Duchess Sophie, excuse me.
Sophie.
There has been, it's always good to have his aunt there. And look at this new duo that's forming. It's an unlikely duo, but you really see how it works. There's been a lot of, look at the women. I swear, that Charlie's Angels article from a couple of years ago that it's like Charles surrounded by all of his women. There is going to be like
Williams.
Not William. I almost said Williams waifs. That doesn't work. Williams wellies. That doesn't work.
I was thinking Williams wellies. I'm like, no.
Williams
we'll
women.
Workshop it. Women. Binders full of women.
Binders full of women. Remember when that was enough to
derail a presidential? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't.
There's going to be something about that, and it's going to be Princess Anne and her metallic lipstick, Duchess Sophie, Catherine, and probably Charlotte when she's older. And it's going to be that some take on Charlie's Angels, because it's the same storylines every single time. So that was wild.
I think what happened here, Princess Anne pushes boundaries with metallic lipstick. It should have been as she supports Prince William, but it's to support Prince William. I think that's where that's not where the story went off the rails. The story itself is just by definition off the rails, but the headline is not a helpful supporting text.
Or if you want to work in Prince William for SEO, it's something like...
Which, I've never seen that happen before. It's usually the opposite.
Right? Or it's something like Princess Anne's bold makeup choice as she attends...
Yeah, bold move, bold choice, yeah.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Or all eyes were on Kate and Sophie, but our eyes were on Princess Anne for this reason. Like working Kate, because that's a bigger name. I don't get it. Come on.
Yeah. Weird. It must have been an off day, which is strange because there were a lot of actual headlines to pull from.
But listen, we talked about it, so not that we're like a big deal, but you got us.
Good job, Melanie McLeod, Deputy Beauty and Lifestyle Editor at Hello.
Girl, you did it. You did it. You got us talking about that metallic lipstick.
If you would like to recreate Anne's metallic lipstick, we will, of course, put a picture up on the Instagram for this one. I think I have a dupe. I believe she might be wearing something close to Revlon's super lustrous creamy formula in the shade Soft Silver Rose.
May I make a suggestion?
There you go.
May I make a suggestion? At the day before, I would like you to drink a lot of water. I would also like you to do a lip mask while you are doing your makeup for the day. I would also like you to use a lip liner. Okay? One that's close to the color, or there are clear lip liners too. Just help it out. Okay, then apply the lipstick, do a little blotting, maybe a little bit of a clear gloss on top, maybe some shimmer. Just help it out, okay?
Amp it up.
That's
My
all
favorite lip hack is one of those plumping lip glosses. Not the spicy ones, but the minty ones. Right as you start your makeup for the day, by the time you get to your lips, they're very plump and ready to go.
I have never required a plumping lip gloss.
I'm so happy for you.
Despite the detractors who think I get my lips injected with omega.
She doesn't, folks. She actually doesn't.
She doesn't. Some people just haven't met people with Middle Eastern or Eastern European genes. Yeah. Sorry,
not sorry. All right. Moving on.
Look at family photos. Anyway,
moving on to the news of the week.
We got a lot of parades.
We did on the same day. And we won't go too deep into this. Meredith and I actually both wrote Substacks because the juxtaposition between Trooping the Color, the monarch's official birthday parade in the UK, and #America250, Trump's birthday parade, Flag Day, whatever you want to call it. Those 2 things happening on the same day was just too good. We couldn't resist. We both wrote newsletters kind of breaking down what this says about the state of the world, and we did this independently. We both focused on, like, different aspects of those parades happening on the same day, so go check those out. We'll link our Substacks in the episode description. But yeah, Trooping the Color and Trump's big, beautiful military parade. Meredith, what were your thoughts?
Like you, it's so funny when we do this because I didn't know you'd written about this and you didn't
Yeah,
know that I'd written about it. And it's always fun to see where we come at it because it's always slightly different given
slightly
our
different.
backgrounds. Because you have this historical royal history background. I have a political comms background. And so
Mhm.
we come at these things a little different. But I was just so struck by Trump having this fake king parade on his actual birthday with no king's protest, while Charles has a, a parade for his birthday, not on his birthday, with Not My King protests. And it was shocking to watch. And it just really made me sit back and say, wow, we are really at this point where so many of our traditional institutions are either feeling out of step with where we are at, or we are watching them deteriorate at such a breathtaking speed that we are just trying to figure out how to meet this moment. And you saw it with the Not My King protests, which are always at Trooping the Color every year, and with the No Kings protest, which obviously in the US came after tensions after a week or so of these ICE raids in LA, which came after Stephen Miller, these leaked reports that he was upset about daily quotas over arrests made of immigrants not meeting a 3,000 a day quota, and just to start rounding up and arresting people, and just issues over how that's happening, and just ICE agents wearing masks and not having identifications and that scaring people, and just heightened tensions, calling in, like federalizing the National Guard, just all of this stuff. And I think my one bit of hope, and I wrote about this in my newsletter, is that they estimate around 5 million people showed up for the No Kings protests.
Mhm.
There is this idea of a 3.5% rule, which was developed by Erica Chenoweth. And it's this idea that she studied nonviolent civil resistance in terms of changing real change, regime change in other countries and hundreds of situations. And she found that if 3.5% of a population is involved in sustained involvement, you see change. And roughly 3.5% of America is 11 million people. So that's halfway there. So there is
Yeah,
some things happening, so that it's a scary time, I think, for anyone, no matter where you fall. It's like, what is going on here? But that was something that kind of like, we have something to work towards, where I was thinking about in terms of Trooping the Color, where you see these protests, right?
right.
And I really thought about it. And even people saying, oh, the crowd size is so bad. That's bad sign for the monarchy. And I kept thinking, is it? Does it
Hmm.
even really matter if they're
Right.
relevant or not? Because it's really hard to abolish the monarchy. You can't just
Yeah.
abolish the monarchy overnight. And I think you and I both had some thoughts on this. The picture that was really jarring to see was Kate and the children in the carriage waving. And then you see, because you're looking at them from behind and they're staring out, and you just see the sea of Not My King, all these signs
Yeah.
in yellow and black, that are basically telling him, like, we don't want you.
Right.
And, and that was kind of hard. That was hard to see, but also made you think, what are the kids told about that? Like, how do they
Yeah.
receive that?
In terms of the Republic group, which is the one with these signs, they have a new slogan, Ditch the Duchies, in the wake of the investigations into how Prince William and King Charles not took, but how it could be argued, made money off of taxpayer dollars through their duchies. So that's a new slogan that's been added into the mix. And image is just so striking. I think it partly is so striking because of Kate's color that she chose to wear this year, this like teal shade, which pops so well against the yellow signs, which the signs are always yellow and black. But yeah, looking at the kids fully seeming to look at these signs, and the carriages are in motion, so you don't really know how much they're able to take in those moments. But I would hope for their sake that they are being told something about the protesters. When I looked up pictures for Substack of these signs, Getty Images had a little note about the Republic movement saying that it advocates the replacement of the UK's monarch with a non political head of state elected to a ceremonial or constitutional position to represent the nation, to defend democracy, to act as a referee in the political process, and to offer a non political voice at times of crisis and celebration. And I found that interesting. I didn't know that they wanted to still have a ceremonial figurehead that is
I didn't
not
know that either.
really political. So I found that interesting. Like, I didn't actually know what these protests like, I knew they were advocating for republic and getting rid of the monarchy, but that's interesting to know that that's their end goal. But it made me think, like, are the royal children being told, okay, these are people with different opinions about how our system should work. They have a right to this type of speech, this type of display, even if we don't agree, blah, blah, blah. Or are they being told, ignore them? They're just bullies. They're just haters. Like, we don't know. And I would love to know, because I
I
think,
thought a lot about that too.
yeah. And the other part of that equation is the children's presence at events where these protests are pretty much ubiquitous at this point. You mentioned they're always at trooping. They usually turn up to Commonwealth Day, any service at Westminster Abbey that's announced ahead of time. You'll usually see a couple of them. And I hope, for the children's sake as well, that they are never put in a position where they are being used as a buffer or to discourage this type of protest for decorum's sake. Oh, but there are children here. I hope for their sake they are never put in that position, because the right to protest is fundamental, whether you're in a democracy or a constitutional monarchy. And that's something I focused on here in my Substack. We have this language these days, you talked about Donald Trump's administration masquerading as a monarchy, but we also see monarchies sort of masquerading as, if not a democracy, then a meritocracy, where
Yeah.
there's this sense that the royals have earned their place through their service, through their dedication. It's like, no, they will never be able to earn their place, because that's not how their system is set up. It's birth order and blood right, like, full stop. You can be a terrible monarch and still, if the push isn't there for a vote in parliament, for a referendum, still keep the job. This isn't the 1600s. We're not executing kings for doing a bad job. There is a process to this. So I found that interesting, that these protests are happening on both sides of the Atlantic, but in different systems, advocating for different things. And the monarchy, I don't know. There is accountability there to the public, because they want to avoid these protests escalating. They want to avoid the possibility of a referendum one day. But in an environment where MAGA Republicans are tiptoeing closer to autocracy, the monarchy, like, looks so much better by comparison, because they
It really
are
does.
constitutional representatives. They're not autocrats. It's not an absolute control system. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I
in
don't know. I was
theory,
reflecting on that a lot.
when you look at protests like what happened in America, there are going to be midterms. They are, in theory, these sort of things, these protests, these growing protests, and whatever happens at midterms should wake elected officials up, because
Mm.
although things are being done to make it harder to vote, and election laws and things are being done structurally to change voting in America, right? But our system is set up so that every 4 years you can have a say and you can change things and change the direction of the country. But with these protests at Trooping the Color, there's not really an impetus to change all that
Mm.
much. There's not pressure to ditch the duchies, to
Right.
have any real financial transparency from William when he becomes king. There's not really a
And
reason to do that.
to your point, the crowd size, I don't think it does matter. It matters for optics, sure, if there ever comes a time where we have to justify the monarchy's continued existence, but we're not really there right now.
No,
Sure, they're
not at
making
all.
the case for why they need to still be part of the fabric of Britain, but we're not at the point where crowd size, I think, matters in the same
Not
way
at
that it
all.
does, say, at Trump's birthday parade, which, did you see that video? Oh, yes, you did, because it was in your Substack. The
Oh, the
tank
squeaky it's the saddest thing I've ever seen, with the squeaky
rolling in
tank.
front of empty grandstands.
And I
Oh
think
my
probably
God.
what we're gonna see, especially as when William and Kate are king and queen, and then the kids get older and then get married, I think we'll probably see a surge in interest again. Like, I think
Yeah.
there'll probably be a resurgence again, because there'll be younger people a part of the monarchy. But I do wonder what, Prince George looking at those signs, and it's like, they're talking about his grandfather. They're talking about his
Uh-huh.
father, who isn't king yet, and they're talking about him. They're saying, we don't want you. We haven't seen what you've done yet, but we don't want you.
Right.
But this is the job he has been told, no, you're born to do this job. You've been given this job. You're born to do it. It doesn't matter. No one can vote you out. No one can decide you're not going to do it. So I don't know how you learn about that in a way that, I don't know. I would hope, like you said, that they're taught to like respect the right to protest. But I do wonder if they're kind of given this, it's just background noise.
Just ignore it. Right.
Ignore it. But on
I
the
don't
other
know.
hand, if you're trying to modernize
Uh-huh.
or appear to modernize and change with the times, doesn't it behoove you to listen to some of it, especially if it sounds like the Republic's mission is more reform than complete abolishment, which
It
makes me
does,
wonder, does
yes.
Republic need to change its messaging a little bit? Because the messaging of Republic, I always thought was just flat out abolish, get rid of all of this. But
It seems to be
it sounds like
abolish the
it's
system and like make it less hereditary, but we still like representational like figureheads. Yeah, I don't know. That's just a little tidbit I pulled from a wire service.
One more thing I want to throw in that was super creepy is one of the Republic's complaints that they've had is that they hate how the royal family uses Trooping the Color to tie like the military in and kind of use the military in that way, which is just what Trump was doing with his birthday.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Cool. Love it here. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Trooping the Fashion.
Trooping the fashion, fashioning the color.
Fashioning
And it was a
the
color.
It was a color.
Last year, Kate did this full send to My Fair Lady for her triumphant return in the midst of cancer treatment. Timeline still unclear. It was cute. It was nice. It was not very different than her kind of ramp up to Princess of Wales Trooping the Color looks. But I've predicted since she became Princess of Wales in 2022 that her Trooping the Color looks would become more bold. That first year that she was Princess of Wales, we had that green ensemble by Andrew Ginn. That was like the first year she really injected bold color into that wardrobe. I think of last year as like an outlier because it was her grand re-entrance. Isn't it so nice to see me back on the scene? And I think this year was kind of her, okay, let's get back into the flow. Let's do what we were going to do all along without that brief interruption. And that bold aquamarine, like it or hate it, she was certainly, I think, the center of attention, unfortunately, for Charles' birthday parade.
Poor Charles.
Poor guy.
What did you think about the look? Who do we know who it's by? What are the details?
It's by Katherine Walker, and it is,
Okay,
I
yes.
believe, like an off the rack because they've posted it before on their socials. So like she doesn't always do custom looks. Sometimes she is just picking from the same pool that other posh British women have to pick from. I don't think the ensemble was bespoke in any way other than sort of tailoring the color to match the color of the Irish Guards, who she is colonel in chief of. Trooping the Color being a military display, that's kind of top of mind when you're putting together these outfits. You know, she's wearing also the regimental badge of the Irish Guards as a brooch, and the color is a tie-in to these feathered plumes that they wear on their bearskin caps. And I don't know. I love the intention behind this outfit. I didn't love some of the graphic elements to it, the lapels being stark white. It felt dated to me, and it felt costumey in a way that her other look, giving a tribute to the Irish Guards in 2023 when she became their colonel, that didn't feel costumey. That felt intentional and so good. This felt like what was expected, like what would communicate very quickly all of these things. But it visually, it did not land for me.
I love the color teal.
Mm-hmm.
She looks great in teal.
My bedroom growing up was this color, by the way. I love this color.
Teal. Love this teal. The hat's gorgeous. Love the hat.
Huh? Did you have more you wanted to add, Meredith?
I don't believe this is how Kate dresses. Like, I just don't believe it. I do not believe this is how Kate dresses. This is kind of giving like we're doing a pilot for an 80s TV show and the budget's low. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I do not like the contrast with the white. I think the color blocking is too wide. And
someone said air hostess.
I am not going to debate that. And for all the, Oh, it's paying homage to Princess Diana. I think we have to stop doing that. I think maybe it's time to it's been what Princess Diana wore that 28, 30 years ago or something. I think we need to
40.
something like that. I don't know. It's been a long time. I think we need to stop doing that. I think it's time to stop doing that. I think there are ways to wear Diana's pieces,
Mm.
but I don't think we need to be depending on depictions of Diana anymore. I think it's time to stop doing that.
It's
I
so
would like that
interesting.
to go away. I think Kate
That's
has
your
her own
obituary for the
style.
day.
Yeah, I think Kate has her own style. I think
She
she is a
absolutely does.
beautiful woman. I don't understand why we do the Diana cosplay so much and why she had to be in this outfit. I think this could have been beautiful if it had been tailored for a more modern style
Mm.
and hadn't had all of the white details.
The shoulder pads are killing me. Oh my god.
Maybe a different
Mhm.
off-white and hadn't been as stark or something.
Yeah, or, like, smaller panels of that white color. It would have looked just more elegant and streamlined rather than this is like a chunky outfit is, like, the word I come back to. I was thinking this weekend about how some of these outfits, especially for the British royals, have become costumey because I don't believe we're seeing Kate's personal style, which, like, there's an argument that you don't have to. But think about the royal women who we do celebrate for their personal style: Queen Maxima, Queen Rania of Jordan, Queen Letizia of Spain. Like, these are women who are, I think, genuinely interested in how they style themselves. And maybe Kate isn't. I don't necessarily believe that, but that's what we're being led to believe, that she thinks the work is more important. This costumey level of dressing the royals, though, it's becoming a lot. And as she's stepping up to be queen, I wonder if we're going to continue that eventually, or if she's suddenly going to have a shift because she's in control of her own fashion for the first time ever. You know what I mean?
It is weird because there's something about the other when you see pictures of other royals in other countries, you're like, yeah, that this feels almost down to earth, which is weird because they're royals. You know what I mean? But it does feel real
Something that they would have in their real closet.
and I don't understand why Kate can't do that as well. And there are times where you see something you're like, Kate would wear that.
Yeah.
You know? And I do believe Kate has her own sense of style and it does feel costumey at times and I don't know why we're doing this to her.
Yeah, I see it her own style a lot when she does separates, like the long skirts, the
Yeah.
turtlenecks, and the
Yeah.
jackets, or
That's what I assume is
back when
more her
she used to
style.
wear a culotte. Ooh, I love those culottes on
Oh,
her.
she loved a cool lot.
But the panel dresses in a color blocked color, the I'm trying to think what else. The oh my gosh, the Alexander McQueen suits, which is clearly just a uniform, a costume to step into when she wants to say, "Okay, I'm business princess today." This Katherine Walker coat dress is, "Okay, I'm symbolism princess today." Like she has these modes where her fashion becomes utilitarian, and even when it's something we can talk about like this outfit, it's just not exciting because I think people know that they're not getting Kate's real style.
Yeah, let's not pretend this was good, okay? The color was beautiful. Kate is a beautiful woman. I mean, she looks good in basically anything, but it wasn't
I
good.
really wish she had reworn her outfit from 2023. That like slim cut coat with the fascinator in the teal color. It was all custom and the buttons were laid out in such a way that they echoed the placement of the buttons on the regimental
Okay,
uniforms.
we know what we need to do. We need to put all these pictures for free in our Patreon community, which
Will
join for
do.
free because we have yeah, we should put these pictures in there. Yeah, because sometimes I even like last year's outfit better. I know it was a little more
Oh, I loved that
demure.
outfit.
I
Yeah.
loved last year's outfit. I was so there for it. Um, okay, and I love when they do not matchy, but coordinate Charlotte
I had
with
a lot of
Kate.
comments from people who did not like Charlotte's outfit.
Really, I mean, Charlotte's 10, right?
She's 10, yes, because there
Yeah,
were weird cover stories about it. She's 10, and a lot of people thought that the outfit was maybe a little juvenile, a little too big for her, was another comment that even my grandma said to me when I saw her on Sunday. She was like, "Oh, that poor little girl." And I'm like, if you said that on the internet, people would tell you, "Don't talk about the kids." But
well, the thing
yeah,
is
okay.
with Charlotte is that I think people forget what 10-year-olds look like.
They
And I
do.
actually find it refreshing how they
Yeah.
dress Charlotte, just because so many 10-year-olds are wearing things. You're like, whoa. And
Belly shirts, low rise
as someone who
jeans.
also has a 10-year-old, it's like, huh.
This is nice.
It gave me a little Wendy from Peter Pan, which I didn't hate. I'm
Yes.
not even saying that
Yeah.
as a negative. I thought she looked super cute. I like it that they're not trying to age her up in any way, and
Yeah. I
it's
would
also
agree.
it's hard to fit kids. I think it's
I think
fine.
if that's intentional, that's a great defense for Charlotte to not be treated weirdly in the press too soon, you know?
I think it's
Keep her in
great.
these
I'm
styles.
glad that we aren't wearing body hugging things on Charlotte and
Or
doing
like little
anything too.
mini blazers. Like, I'm not here for that yet.
No, I like how there's a nod to mom, but it's not super matchy matchy. I'm
Yeah.
here for it. Charlotte, girl, you do your thing. Be a 10-year-old.
George and Louis, did you like their little navy suits with red ties?
Sure. I just feel like
Okay.
I don't know.
I
Voice
it was
suiting
cute.
is not my
Yeah,
strong
it was
suit.
fine.
Eh.
It was fine. It was a 5 out of 10. Then there was Prince William, who is the subject of my obituary today, which I have to bring in early because I'm so sick to death of this.
Oh God.
The slow motion videos of William walking towards the camera in either business attire or military attire.
Like a real housewife?
It needs to stop. It is egregious. It is every single time this man goes outside now, you will find one of those videos on the Prince and Princess of Wales social media. I am embarrassed for him. Does he whose idea is it? Is it him saying, okay, now get one of me walking towards the camera? Or is it the social media person reminding him, we need this clip? I
I'm
want to
gonna
know and I
guess
want it to stop.
somebody is watching a lot of Real Housewives, and I'm gonna tell you something. Real Housewives of Miami just premiered 2 weeks ago, and they are the queens of the slow-mo. Kiki does it better than anyone else. Some people look weird. I'm telling you, somebody watches that on his team, or maybe it's William, and they're like, that's it. If you start seeing fluorescent signs in the background, if he starts
Fun.
speaking Spanish, and if he starts saying, well, Cubans just don't do that, then you know he's taking his cues from Real Housewives of Miami.
All right. Well, you heard it here first.
Yep.
Now, we had the Garter Day procession, and then Royal Ascot kicked off this week on Tuesday. That is a
Sure.
very glamorous event. There is some good fashion that I'm planning to do a little roundup of on TikTok once we have more looks for the week. But an interesting tidbit came in this morning as we're recording Wednesday. The Prince and Princess of Wales were originally slated to be attending Royal Ascot today, but Kate pulled out at the last minute. Her name was already printed on the programs. It was already on the social media that she would be in, I think, the second or third carriage in their little procession that they do. You can't tell me that the royals aren't mascots when they literally put them in carriages and have them go do a loop. Royal Ascot.
Go do a loop.
Do a loop, come back, then you can watch the race. But no, Kate had to pull out this morning. There was a statement from a palace representative I forget where I saw it. It was the New York Times. They wrote that the palace representative's anonymity has been preserved in keeping with palace protocol. I'm like, okay, like you can just say it was a palace rep. I don't know. They said that she was disappointed to not be attending Royal Ascot today, but she is still finding the right balance as she returns to public engagements following her treatment for cancer. I think translation, she's feeling a little run down. Maybe she's got a cold. Why couldn't they just say that? I don't know. They had to make it about returning to public engagements with the right balance. And why can't we just say she has a cold or whatever?
I think it's because there's certain language now that the press knows you do not push on this topic. You do not push because you know now that this is a no-fly zone. There are no questions surrounding anything that has to do remotely with Kate's health and her work-life balance after the presence of cancer and cancer treatment, and you don't cross that line. In fact, I wonder if there was just a really short just press release from the palace that was just like, quote this, have this to a palace, quote a palace source said, blah blah blah, Kate will not be, like, here's the word, that's it, and that's all we're giving. Don't ask follow-up questions, like, this is it.
Yeah, maybe. Very, very possibly. I will also note over the weekend from Trooping and Garter Day, I believe, there were clips of Kate. This is so ridiculous, but I saw it several times. There were clips of her sneezing at Trooping the Color. And I saw some literally like fan cam edits of her sneezing. And it was like, she's so graceful. She's so dainty. And the little like smiley face with the eyes welling up with tears emoji. That's another thing I would like us to stop it. This is a 40-something-year-old woman. She's allowed to sneeze, first and foremost. And second of all, dainty?
Why do we have
What?
to why do we have to infantilize her? Like, it's fine that she sneezed. It would have been fine if she sneezed and it was like one of those sneezes that you just can't control.
You can't.
And it's like,
Yeah.
you're like, what just came out of my mouth? Like, it happens. That would have been fine too. It would have been fine.
But the fact that the sneeze happened, I think I saw a few places saying, oh, well, poor Kate, she has a horse allergy. So this is like really hard for her to attend these events. You know, trooping is horse centric, Ascot is horse centric. I would like to say the horse allergy story is one I've seen over the years whenever the summer season rolls around, because Kate is not really a fixture at Royal Ascot in the way that, say, a Sophie, a Camilla, a Beatrice. They're all there like most of the days out of the week. Kate will normally put in one appearance. And people have pointed to this. Yeah, people have pointed to this horse allergy that has been swirled around Kate for years and years, like over a decade, as the reason that she does not attend. That rumor, I have a story here from the Express in 2022. Kate Middleton Health, the Duchess's severe allergy symptoms can start within minutes. And it's talking about how somebody heard through the grapevine she's not going to a polo match because she's allergic to horses. Back in 2011, a palace rep was on record debunking that Kate is allergic to horses. From E! News in 2011, is Kate Middleton really allergic to horses? Rumors have abounded for months that Prince William's better half, Shade, can't share space with equines. But in the wake of her successful polo appearance, could it be true? Couples rep puts rumors to rest. And in this article, a palace representative is on record saying the Duchess is not allergic to horses. This rumor has been around for a while, but it is not true. So definitively, Kate is not allergic to horses. I know it's a fun little fun fact to pull out of your back pocket. Not true. Debunked.
There's a myth busted.
A myth that Meredith had no idea existed before today.
I know. For
Busted.
2.5 whole minutes, I believed it.
You were on the edge of your seat. I should have built it up more.
I know. Oh, that was wonderful.
But we also have some Meghan news, which we are finally ahead of. It feels so good.
It's so great. And finally, for all the people that asked me when Meghan's going to have a drop, which I am not privy to information before the fact, it's going to be this Friday, June 20th. I believe it's at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And we know that because there was an email. And it was very succinct.
There was an Instagram post with a countdown. Yes,
and
11 a.m. Eastern.
I think that new PR marketing team, it's working.
They're tightening ship.
Which is a good idea to go under one roof with a company that goes across multiple time zones instead of having two different execs, which the media also blew up this week as a sign that things are not all well, when it's like, well, actually that's a sign of growth if you need more agile communication. But that's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Continue on. But she was also on a podcast.
Yeah, speaking of growth.
Speaking of growth, we are on a podcast. She was on a podcast, and it was with Emma, I don't know how to say her last name.
Emma Grede. Aspire with Emma Grede, which I am starting to listen to now. This is what a good podcast appearance can do. I found a new podcast.
I'm gonna follow. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really into her. I knew nothing beforehand. It took till halfway through because she doesn't talk about it at all. She doesn't talk about herself really, but she is, according to her website, a mother of 4. She is the CEO and co-founder of Good American, which is the Khloe Kardashian jean brand. And she is also an early founder.
She's a founding partner in Skims.
And also she's one of the board members for the Obama Foundation. And she is quite successful. And Amanda and I decided, you know what? Although there are no wide, comfortable rocking chairs, we are going to give this one a listen.
Other Meredith Lynch, did a little Patreon episode. Did you listen to this? It was like 15 minutes. She was like, I just have to talk about that Jamie Woman's podcast really quick. And she like basically shared the thoughts that Meredith and I have shared, where it was just an uncomfortable listen. I've seen a lot of sketches on the internet kind of mocking the delivery style that happened in that interview with Meghan. And Meredith Lynch was saying, you know, I wanted to know how Jamie gets all these famous people to come on her podcast. And she's like, I have a theory that she lets them use her private jet and then says, come on my podcast as a guest. and that's how she gets
That
them.
would not be a bad strategy. I would just like to say
Mm-mm.
for the record that I just recognize that not all podcasts are made for me. And this potentially
Yes.
was just not a podcast made for me. I think out of all of the podcasts that I've listened to featuring Meghan, this is the best one hands
It was
down to
so
listen
good.
to. If you're going to listen to any of them,
Yeah.
listen to this one.
In terms of getting a sense of how Meghan can talk about her business ventures, there's not a lot of new information beyond that little soundbite that was actually used as promo for the episode, where Emma asks her, if you could rewrite one thing about your public persona over the past few years, what would it be? And Meghan says, I would ask people to tell the truth. That's like the only real nugget we get into the big story that people want to know about when it comes to Meghan, right? Like, how did the fallout happen? What really went on behind the scenes at the palace? That was not the focal point of this episode. More of the airtime, most of the airtime, was given to how Meghan is as a CEO of As Ever. We learned a lot about how involved she is in product development. And Meredith sent me a voice note about what she thinks happens in those 5 a.m. emails.
Okay, I will tell you something because this is not surprising. Yeah, a lot of things were not surprising, but I will say the way Emma asked questions, first of all, she wasn't playing. She dove right into that episode. We
Mhm.
didn't have a lot of
I
it was
liked,
okay, we're gonna
I
talk
liked that
right now.
Emma and Meghan had different styles of approaching business too. I liked that
Yes.
tension in the
I
conversation.
I did too, and Emma, and I mean this in a real in an actually a positive way, she wasn't overly impressed with Meghan. And I
Mm,
mean that in a nice way because I think what happens when Meghan is on with people who are her friends, who understand her struggle in a very personal way, they have it almost feels like they know and are editing themselves for what the media is going to do
mm.
with what they say. And there's this protective element, which I
There's a lot
think
of deference given.
yes, which I think proves counter to what the media says are haters, she has very good friends. But
Mhm.
when there are people like, for example, Roy Choi, who was on with Love Meghan, and Emma, who I don't believe is is a close friend of hers, or
No,
I
I
don't
don't
know how
think
well they
so.
know each other. It's like we're doing similar things, and I admire you, I respect you, I understand some of the hustle you've been through,
Let's
but like
compare and contrast.
I also work
Yeah.
with the Kardashians, and this is a hustle and
Yeah.
this is a business. So I'm also gonna like clown on you a bit. And
Yeah.
I'm
My
gonna
favorite
like
part,
go
and
with
I will
you.
go back to
Yeah.
your like little narrative you built for yourself, Meredith. But my favorite part was when they were talking about the why. And Emma was like, I like to make money. And Meredith was like, Meredith. And Meghan was like, I like my values to be aligned. And this story we've heard before about, how everything is authentic to her and it doesn't matter about the money you're making. And she talks about she would have been happy just setting up a farm stand in Montecito. And it's like, yeah, but like you did partner with Netflix. Like you clearly wanted to make money. But even as Emma's telling her, like, no, it's okay. Like it's not taboo. Like women need to be more comfortable saying they want to make money and
Yeah.
make their money work for them. Meghan's like, haha, yeah. And I loved that conversation. It's not a dig on each of them, but it was an interesting insight into how she sees herself as a business builder.
Well, and I also think she's always talking from the point of view of the brand and the marketing, which is fine. There is a way that you
Mm,
talk
the
almost in this
outward
the
perception.
outward perception
Yeah.
of it and not the well, obviously there's a bottom line, there's P&Ls to,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
consider. She's always talking from the marketing standpoint to people who are like, I'm an entrepreneur, like I'm girl, I feel you. Like
Yeah, girl.
let's talk real. But it was interesting because I saw a tweet where someone picked up that part and said, see, Meghan tried to get a cottage license. Like she was totally okay just selling this at a farmer's market. It was never the money was a bonus. And it was like, no, it wasn't. She had to make money. Like, who are we kidding?
And she's
Perhaps
like
she
not still making the jam in her kitchen. Let's
yeah,
be
it
real
was
about that.
perhaps she said, "Well, maybe this is something that I can play around with and it's not going to be my main moneymaker." But when she saw an opportunity
When
to
somebody told her
turn
this could be, yeah, her main
then she went
moneymaker.
with it that way and didn't decide to keep it as a hobby. So what are we talking about here? Let's not play
Let's not
ourselves.
insult women by saying wanting to make money is a bad thing. And Meghan is ahead of
Exactly,
the
because
game by not being in it for that reason.
no, she actually
That's
went
so
in a
insulting.
she was still going in an entrepreneurial way of saying, "Well,
Yeah.
maybe I start this way." And I bet if she saw an opportunity to put it in local grocery stores and then
Mhm.
build it up that way, she would have done that and it would have been
But she
successful.
didn't
So,
need to. She didn't need
no,
to put herself in that position. She didn't need to bootstrap, as I've learned is the term.
yeah, and she actually what she really taught us is that growing relationships because she kept sending baskets of stuff to the people at Netflix and sending these jams. And
Oh,
suddenly someone said, there's a TV show. Smart freaking move. Like, this woman
yeah.
moves in really, really smart ways. She presents it in one way, but I think she knows what she's doing.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, what I was talking about is Meghan does say, which not surprisingly,
Not
that she
surprising
has her
at all.
hand in everything and every granular detail, including the newsletters to make sure they reflect her tone and voice. And I just had a flashback of every client I ever worked for where I told Amanda, because I used to work in digital marketing, and
Yeah.
Meghan
Can you
is
reenact it? Because it was
yeah.
so funny.
And please tell me I am just this is just a joke.
Yeah, this is not like
God, it's
I
just a
think if you've worked in
joke.
marketing, if you've worked in social media, if you worked in PR, graphic design, you've had a boss like this where they mean so well and they do care so much, but they can also, I think, trust that people like Meredith and I know how to do our jobs.
Like, you come in and you're so excited. You're like, oh my God, I get this brand. I get the vision. I'm so excited. Like, here's
Yeah.
a person that has the assets already. And like they know what a newsletter is, and they know the difference between Instagram and Facebook. Like, you're so excited. And you've done a couple of newsletters and the training wheels are off, and you put things together and you got it scheduled and you're ready to go. And then suddenly you wake up to a 5 a.m. email. Nothing wrong with a 5 a.m. email. But then
Nope.
suddenly it's like, um, okay, so I've just been thinking, and
Great job, but
I don't. What is the pink saying? Because I, I just feel like it's a little too light, and maybe that doesn't show the confidence. And then the font, because Helvetica, it kind of reminds me of. I just wonder if a Playfair display really does the
Poppins.
message. And are we demanding too much with where we've placed the CTA? Is a square corner? Just can we try it with a rounded corner?
Can we
And
do
you know that
H2 instead of H3?
and you know that picture with the hand around the child? Does it look too possessive? Can we feel that the child is scared and maybe feels in danger? What are we trying to say here? I would love your thoughts. Like, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, like, I've been in this situation.
It's so nice to be
before.
in the head of a manager like that with Meghan on this podcast, I will say. Again, it's not a dig on her. It's
Oh no,
tongue in
not at
cheek
all.
here because she's unabashed about this being her management style. And I think if you
Yeah.
read between the lines of, the bullying stories, the micromanaging boss from hell stories, yeah, obviously those are over exaggerated. But I think at the core of that is this woman who is sitting with Emma Grede saying, my hand is in everything and my seal of approval goes on everything.
It's just her style of working, which
Yeah.
is fine. You just have to be okay with working
This is
in
a
that
better
style.
venture. Yeah, this is a better sphere for her to be in with that management style, the lifestyle brand,
Totally.
than the palace.
Because she
So,
loves being creative. And if you love
yeah.
being creative and you want to have your hand in that and that brings you joy, again, I think we got a better sense. I even got a better sense, and I know she's shown us this, but in this interview, I don't know why it finally clicked. I was just like, Meghan is just going to be working things out and building the plane in real time.
Yeah.
And that is going to personally frustrate me to watch
Yeah.
because I'm like, what do you mean you're just going to be like, the podcast is going on a hiatus and like, maybe it'll be back in a year. Maybe it'll be back in 10 years. Maybe it won't be
We
back.
have to
Maybe
see if
it'll
there's
come.
demand. Like, of course
And,
there's demand.
and I'm like, what? But and then I realize this is just how she's going to work. And she really just doesn't give a shit what
Yeah.
people write. And I don't know why. I'm not saying she hasn't said this before, but for some reason it took this podcast and the way questions were asked for me to say, Meghan's just going to do whatever she wants. And it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's
'Cause
anything wrong with it.
She was given these questions, which were very, very good talking points and questions,
Yes.
where she could have gone a different way with her answers, but she still stuck to her guns on her management style, on her value alignment. And so I truly have to believe that that's how she works, how she operates, how she moves.
I think so too. And also, even with her explaining the restock and how looking at the data, and even Emma was describing with Good American, it's really hard when things sell out so quickly that you can't even really read the data and see anything. If everything just sells out in that time frame, it doesn't really give you a good indicator of you're just like, okay, I need a
Which-
lot more stuff.
My fingers are crossed. This bodes well for the Friday restock. Maybe
I know,
this
I'm
means
like,
they have enough stock that everyone can get.
lots of stuff.
I'm hoping for pancake mix. That was teaser was pancakes. I
Okay,
love
I'm
a
hoping for pancakes.
pancake.
I just want a shite ton of jam. Okay, listen, guys, I will not get in the way of your flour sprinkles. I
The
just
jam
want
was
some
so good.
jam. And I kind of want to spring for the honey. I'm not going to lie.
I wanna see what the hype is all about.
This is where I love having someone like Emma talk to Meghan, because there's a part where they're talking about the product launch and more restocks. And then Meghan says, I got to take it global because, it's
Mm,
sharing and I want to share this with more people, which is great. And that
yeah.
is how you market it to the public, right? You don't say, I want to make a lot more money and there's demand,
There's
right?
demand,
Of
there's a
course you
global
don't
audience
say that.
waiting.
And Emma says something like, well, yeah, babe, but P&L, profits and
Mm,
losses. Like,
yeah.
yeah, making money. And Meghan laughs and goes, well, yeah, but sharing, it's like one of those
Yeah, yeah,
moments
yeah.
where it's like, okay,
That
I
was my
hear you,
favorite part.
girl,
Yep.
but
Mhm.
come on. And then the other part, she talks about her Instagram. It does bring up, well, did you see the baby mama dance video? And she was like, oh my gosh, I loved it. I watched it
Let me
so many
tell
times.
you. And she, like,
Let me
leans
tell
back in her chair.
and she's like, and she said what we had all assumed, which was it was really fun to share that moment from 4 years ago, which
Uh-huh.
showed that behind the scenes, even during these trying times, there was joy and there was fun and authenticity. Do not drink every time you hear that word. It will not end well for you. But, that was the word of the day. And
Interesting choice.
it's funny because Emma brings up, obviously, your Instagram it's a business tool. And
And she's
Meghan
like,
goes,
"What?
no,
My personal Instagram?"
she goes, no, it isn't. And Emma goes, well, we're all following it.
Yeah, that's the one
And
I'm following.
Meghan goes, well, a lot of people follow as ever. And Emma goes, yeah, but that was a really interesting moment because
Yes.
I'm sitting there going, your personal Instagram is an extension of your business
Well, there's a
because
reason I think she launched it on New Year's Day, 2025. You know what I mean? Like, when all of these business ventures would be kicking off.
it's in those moments where I say to myself, is that authentic? Does she believe that? Or does she know that that really isn't true, but it sounds like the right thing to say? Because your personal Instagram is part of your brand,
Right. That's what
especially
came
when,
first this year.
yes, and your brand is you. The As Ever brand is Meghan. The show is With Love Meghan. You are using your personal brand to soft sell your actual brands. It's a hub where people can learn more about your life, where you are also doing the things that bring you joy, which include the products and the TV show that you work on.
Yes. With her posting her children on her personal Instagram, she does wanna probably be careful about looping it into the business, otherwise those exploitation headlines, which already get written, I will say, but that becomes more of like a talking point, a screaming point for the media.
Totally. I don't know how you word that you're I just
It's
think there's a
hard for
way
people to understand
it
separating the
is, but
personal from the
as a
business when you're
marketer,
yeah,
I'm sitting there and I'm like,
girl.
your personal Instagram is not a soft selling,
Yeah.
a
In
not
her head,
sorry.
maybe not. Maybe not. You know, she talks about the last time she was on Instagram, the filters and boomerang were like a thing. And now the landscape is so, so different.
When you do share like behind the scenes stuff from season 1 and like
Yeah,
you're
the
sharing
Confessions of a
things,
CEO podcast as
you're
well.
sharing, which again, I think is great, but you're using it
Let's call a
for
spade a
soft
spade.
selling,
Yeah.
which is fine, which again is fine.
Okay. If we could sum up this conversation and our hope for Meghan, is it just that she gets more comfortable with owning her business acumen this year?
Because it's actually it's really freaking good. I
Uh-huh.
think, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think what Emma does, maybe I'm forming this as I go, I'm building the plane in the air,
Yeah.
is that she kind of forces Meghan to confront
Mm.
that what she's doing is really smart and boss bitch-esque, and it doesn't need to be couched in this new age authenticity
Yeah.
kind of language. She can just own it.
To
She
be
wants
justifiable. Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to make money. She wants to do what she loves, and she
And
wants
she
to
has an
create an
audience.
empire, and she's doing it. Keep
Yeah.
doing it, Meghan.
Keep doing it, Meghan. We're so proud of you, and we will be
Don't leave
cheering
me
you
hate
on.
comments.
Speaking of hate comments, no, there were some zingers from the media as expected after this podcast. really zooming in on that one soundbite about telling the truth. And as expected, they are not normal. So we're not going to get into it. Just know that it persists, as does Meghan.
Nevertheless, she persisted, and nobody listened to the podcast, apparently.
Apparently
except for
not.
that one clip.
Literally, it was like 20 seconds. I don't even want to say 30 seconds.
Not even. And doesn't mention the royal family, which makes them mad. You could interpret her saying, I wish they would tell the truth. Not surprisingly.
And it's not new.
The media doesn't seem to believe that
They're
could
part of the
include the media.
It's
weird.
Right. Weird. So weird. Well, that's our episode.
Remember, we'll have some pictures and some discussion over on Le Patreon. Also, we need to do our royal shoutouts. I think we forgot to do it last week because we chopped together the episode.
Oh, yes.
And we were tired.
That was a week.
We apologize to
reasons.
the Order of the Baby's Breath, Sir Christopher. And obviously, our Patreon press secretaries, listen, we're not going on a firing spree. I'm just kidding.
You pay us. Like, we can't fire you.
You're unfireable. Please don't fire us. So Molly, Nikki, Lulu, Jessica, holding down the fort. You're like our Spice Girls. Are we missing a spice? 1, 2, 3, 4.
With
this
Christopher
is like
in the mix. No.
No. Actually, this is almost like Spice World, where Sir Christopher is, the manager. And then Molly, Nikki, Lulu, Jessica. It's like if Jerry was missing. So we need a ginger spice. If you want to round out the press secretaries, we could almost build a whole Spice World movies. If you would like to help us build a Spice World movie cast,
what just happened?
I will make a poster.
Where am I?
If you send us all pictures of yourselves, I will make a poster with your faces on it, Spice World style. So just
don't
join the
say
Patreon.
She's not an entrepreneurial spirit. Listen to her.
Listen, and I will
in real time.
own that shiz. Okay, I got P&Ls. I got jam to push. Just kidding.
All right. Well, stay safe out there, y'all. Trying to get Megan's jam on Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone, get your keyboards ready and fired up. Set those alarms.
I have my alarm set. I'm gonna see what's what.
I'm not playing.
And we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.